Clementina Rath, and I wrote The Adventures of Mr. Polkington, which has the rather smart black cover with an occult symbol done in narrow bands of lace. Now, the reason for the narrow bands of lace is that the hero, Mr. Polkington, started his career as what low comedians used sometimes to call a traveller in ladies' underwear. He works for an eminently respectable firm in London who specialise in haberdashery, notions and ladies' lingerie. By hard work, he has, in his middle age, worked his way up to becoming a mentor and a trainer of the younger salesmen. He also has a very sad backstory, which is outlined in the beginning of the story, and this is probably something which helps him in his occult detection. He is not the kind of detective who is involved with mysterious lodges or words of power or strange rituals with altogether too many vowels to be reasonable. His powers possibly come from within himself and what he's experienced. At the beginning of the first story, he discovers that there have been mysterious disappearances of young men in the area, and that one of the disappearances is one of his own pupils, Percy Chiddock. Now, he feels responsible. He is his mentor. He feels that possibly he should have known that there was something wrong that caused the young man to disappear, and he should try to find him. So the first thing he does is follow his trail. He goes to all the stores that Percy Chiddock was supposed to go to on the day he disappeared, and finds as if he can find where he deviated from his approved tracks. Well, the first few stores he discovers that Chiddock is a very bad salesman indeed, and should certainly consider a different career if he ever reappears. But on the last call, he discovers something very disturbing indeed. At first, it seems not unreasonable. Two ladies were standing heads together looking at an array of silk and satin ribbons that a young female assistant had tossed across the mahogany counter for their admiration. They were probably intended for a wedding dress, for they were all in shades of white and cream, and even to a man of Mr. Polking's experience, they all appeared more or less identical in appearance, colour, quality and width. But the three women were very intent on comparing and contrasting them, and Mr. Polkington was able to observe the young assistant at his leisure. At first glance he was inclined to dismiss her as a painted hussy, with elaborately puffed hair and wearing, he was willing to swear, a young Venus corset beneath her neat black shop assistant's gown with its nun-like touches of white, an effect which quite defeated its original demure intention. And then, perhaps feeling his gaze upon her, she looked up, directly at Mr. Polkington, and their eyes met, and he stepped back, feeling the sweat break out on his upper lip, and knowing that he was looking at death. He could hardly describe it even to himself. He was aware of a kind of horrible hunger, a grey void that would draw all laughter, all joy, all kindness, all life into itself and annihilate it if it could, and that horror was stooped over the pretty young bride and her mother. And what could he do about it? Call a policeman? Tell him what he had seen, what he had felt? They would lock him up. A clergyman? He might be kind, he might listen, but he would certainly end by suggesting that Mr. Polkington consult a doctor. And the doctor would call in a colleague, and they would lock him up. Or perhaps, of course, they would be right to do so. Perhaps the girl was quite innocent, quite normal, and he was quite mad. But in his heart he knew he was not. And whatever stood at the ribbons and notions counter in Le Fanu's was not a girl at all. It was something that might have stepped out of the pages of one of Mr. Stoker's more exciting works. But where would he find a Professor Van Helsing to deal with it? And of course, Mr. Polkington decides that he has to deal with whatever it is, and whatever connection it has to Percy Chiddington's disappearance, for himself. Thank you.